the game from a former player's perspective. The Septa Baseball Insiders Show, presented by BCWSA, is broadcasting live from Keenan's in North Wildwood and is brought to you in part by BCWSA, Pat Dion Beverages, Septa, Hand and Stone Spa, Penn Community Bank, and Harris Comfort. We now go live to Keenan's North Wildwood for the Septa Baseball Insiders Show, presented by BCWSA. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies Director of Fun and Games, John Brazier, and former Phillies pitcher from the 93 National League NL champion Phils, Tommy Greene.
Welcome to the Septa Baseball Insider Show, presented by BCWSA. I'm Bill Werndl, pinch hitting for Tommy Tommy. I've got Tommy Greene and John Brazier, and of course Chris Hermer manning the controls down here. Stephen Lawler back at the station. Watch the show live at WBCBSports.com or searching WBCB Sports on your YouTube. Listen to the show on WBCB 1490 and 107.3 FM. Your station in Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County. Joining us right now, Tommy Greene, not Johnny Greene. All right?
You got that one right that time.
Right. Tommy, last night, a disappointing loss. You have a team like the Pirates on the ropes. The Pirates are not going to be going anywhere. It's a very frustrating loss. They had the bases loaded a couple times. Yeah. They just can't produce. What do you see in this team? What is lacking, Tom?
Well, I mean, there's the little bit of consistency thing was you heard me talk about numerous times over the summer, and that's going to be the thing that gets us in. If we get in, is we get consistent at not making the little mistakes. And stuff, because we let the team back in, a little defensive mishap, keeping a ball in front of you, and listen, they let it get by you, even though it was a hit. You got to eat it somehow. Marsh had, he's got to find a way to keep that ball. He knew he's got to keep it in front of him. That's bottom line. Even though it was a hit, he can't let it get by him. He's got to wear that one somehow, to keeps it from clearing the bases. But as far as offensively side, we have to get better at putting balls in play when we have runners in scoring position, especially with, man on third, less than 2 outs, and no matter if it's bases loaded or with just a man on third. We got to find a way to get that run in.
Tommy, when you look at their approach with men in scoring position, do you see a different approach from different players?
I mean, there's the new age thought of hitting. I see a lot of the same swings. There's no giving yourself up type thing sometimes. The guy I see that gives himself up, or I won't say gives himself up, it's just his approach is bad. As Stott's got a great approach. Baum's got a great approach. And look at the way they're hitting, and I think some of that is coming off, handing off to Marsh a little bit too. He's become a lot better hitter than people thought he was going to be. He's done some damage. And he's right around 280 for the year, and he's done a great job. It's just the telltale sign is pitching and defense is going to be the thing. Is that we got this? If we can go 4-2 or 4-2 in a week every week for the rest of the season, that's not bad. It's a winning week. It gives us the chance to do things, but we really need to take advantage of some teams we need to beat. We need to beat them. The series should be over as far as we're concerned with Pittsburgh. We should already won those 2 games, and by decisively factor with run score. We should have been better than 2-1 the first night. I witnessed that with the bases loaded on how many times?
3 times.
And then get runs across, and but we end up winning it. You got to credit the job pitching. We pitched very well that night, and last night wasn't necessarily Nola didn't have his sharpness that we need him to have, and when you start missing with the breaking ball up in zone a little bit, it was just flatter last night, and guys took advantage of it, and that's what big league hitters do. Even though they're young, they still have talent, and that's what happened. We let them back in the game, and they led us into the game by their pitcher walking guys and doing what he did, but. We still had a chance to win that ball game. But it come down to defense a little bit. That's what hurt. We gave up a couple unearned runs, and along with Nola struggling, a little bit, it kind of snowballs, and that's just the way the game kind of rolls a little bit.
Tommy, you talk about defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they play Castellanos in right, play Rojas every day now in center field, move Marsh to left field, you strengthen your defense.
Obviously, that's a better defense, especially when you're talking left and center. I mean, you got guys that can go get it, and it takes a little bit of pressure. It takes pressure when you got those guys, especially the man in center now. He can go get them. He can pick them up and put them down, and it can take some pressure a little bit off Castellanos out there trying to get balls in the gap more so because he can cover it because of his speed. But I think we start talking about trade deadline and what our needs are. If they can somehow find somebody with some right-handed pop that can add some, because we're missing it. Because I think we're like 29th this week in hitting and home runs hit for the week. We hit 3 home runs for the week.
Wow.
29 out of 30 teams. We're at the bottom of the pole as far as power, as far as that type of home run power. It's not saying you can't hit gaps. You just have to hit a couple gaps. We got to find gaps with extra base hits that way. But we do miss that. This team was supposed to be a little bit more. If you look at it, on paper and what was done in the past, we're supposed to be pounding it a little more than we have been. And it's just not happened this year. We're having to find different ways to do things, and that's what baseball does to you sometimes. You have to make adjustments. It's a game of adjustments, and some guys scuffling a little bit because sometimes it's hard to adjust like that. Find that comfort or that thing that gets you back on track again. Turner's battling and try to do all he can. We know he's trying to do it. Castellanos did a very good job at it early. Through the spring training in the first half of this year, and then all of a sudden this past month he's been scuffling. He's been scuffling, sort of back chasing stuff again, not seeing it well, which is that happens. So you got to take a step back, try to get back to the basics, what you did in spring training, or the first part of the season, and try to keep it simple that way.
Tommy, you mentioned Aaron Nola, and you mentioned before the show, you said he's throwing too many breaking balls.
Yeah, I see that a little bit sometimes. I think he's got a good one. I see why they call it, but there's nothing better than a fastball down, well-located fastball down in the zone. And his ball has movement and stuff like that. It's the old theory. We're not trying to miss bats. As pitchers, we're trying to throw quality pitches, and the hitters get themselves out a lot of times. They pull off balls, hit it off in, give you weak ground balls or weak pop-ups. If you're staying out of the middle plate, thigh high. That's what hurt him a little bit more so yesterday. That he started baseballs. The breaking ball was hanging up in the zone, and sometimes it's hard to get that breaking ball called for a strike. He gets a lot of swings, misses with that guy, which is fine, but you got to get ahead in the count and stuff to do that. And sometimes that's when he's off a little bit. That's what happens. He kind of misses a little bit. He gets down in the count a little bit and has to fight back a little bit. And he just didn't have quite the consistent sharpness to that breaking ball. And the times he did kind of get it over the plate, they took advantage of it.
Tommy, they have a very difficult decision, the Phillies. They're going to negotiate with Nola at the end of the year, I would imagine. You play general manager. A very tough call as far as how much money you're going to give Nola, how many years you're going to give Nola. How do you see this playing out? And is Nola a Philadelphia Philly in 2024?
Well, that's obviously a good question. It comes down to what Nola wants too. Bottom line, because I think every team in the league would love to have a guy that what he gives you. He gives you innings, and he keeps you in ball games pretty much. Yeah, he's going to have his clunkers every now and then, like you see yesterday, but most of the time he shows he can reel off 8, 10, 12 good starts pretty much in a row sometimes, and do that, because it's hard to do that. Hard to throw 8 starts in a row pretty good. That's like almost 2 months worth of work. And to do that, you have to be rolling pretty good. But it's going to come down. Obviously the numbers they're going to make a big deal about that. But he does offer some very good quality as a starting pitcher for organization. With the starting pitching, he takes the rock. Knock on wood, he's been healthy ever since that one scare early in his career. with his elbow. He's come back good. I think he needs to get back to whatever he did when he come back to there. I think a lot of it does with his legs, and he does. I kind of watch him sometimes if he gets a little dormant with them a little bit, because that was the one key. He kept his velocity up. And his velocity's been pretty good, as far as where he's been his best at. But then it comes down to, okay, that's there, and then it's the consistency of where you throw. I mean, the fastball stuff. Are you trying to swing? Trying to get swing and misses all the time. Now, sometimes I see that with him, and it could be because he's following JT. JT's you want to trust your catcher to call a good ball game too. That way you're not shaking off. You want to keep going, and especially now with him with the time clock, I think he's had the biggest time adjustment to that of any other pitchers. But with him, he's got to command his fastball, and that's what it's come down. I think we've talked about it numerous times, but he's got to command his fastball. And when he started out early in the game with that, the first inning or so yesterday, and he looked like I said, this might be a pretty good day for him if he stays like this, because he was commanding, staying out of the middle of the plate with that